As the days turned to weeks, shame she had pushed down threatened to consume her. She couldn't confide in anyone, not even Essie, her daughter, who was not around. How could she explain what she barely understood herself? A wave of sickness overcame her one morning, and that's when Temisan began to suspect the unthinkable. She delayed going to the local clinic, telling herself it was impossible, but her body betrayed her. When the doctor delivered the news, she felt the earth shift beneath her feet. Pregnant at 47 with her grandson's child. Once upon a time, in the southern part of Nigeria, lived a lady called Temisan, who became pregnant at 15, and her daughter also became pregnant at 15. So, at 30, Temisan became a grandmother. Temisan sat on her porch, watching the sun dip beneath the horizon, casting long shadows over her modest home. The air was thick with the scent of rain, yet the storm had not yet come. It was a moment of quiet real in her chaotic life, and she cherished it. She had long grown accustomed to being the center of gossip in her small home. It had been that way since she was 15, pregnant and sent packing by her parents, left to fend for herself and raise her daughter, Essie. Temisan's eyes softened at the thought of Essie, now a young woman. She had tried to give her daughter a better life, despite their tumultuous starts, but fate had been unkind. Essie, like her mother before her, found herself pregnant at 15, continuing the cycle that Temisan had fought so hard to break. The scandal had shaken the family once again, but Temisan vowed not to let history repeat itself entirely. She would not abandon her grandchild like her parents had abandoned her. So, at 30, she had a grandchild. Essie then delivered a baby boy called Ose at the age of 15. Ose grew up in the home of his grandmother, Temisan. As years passed, the family fell into a rhythm. Life moved on, though the whispers in the town never fully died down. The child born of scandal was now 17-year-old. Ose was quiet but thoughtful, his gaze lingering too long at times, though no one thought much of it. Temisan's beauty had not faded with age. She was still striking, her body curved into coveted figure-8 shape. Her skin always like burnished copper, but she was Ose's grandmother. Any untoward thought seemed not only impossible, but an abomination. And yet, Ose found himself drawn to her in ways that troubled him. His adolescent mind was clouded with confusion, a dangerous blend of admiration and forbidden desire. He would watch her move about the house, the way she carried herself. Grace, despite the hardship of her life. Over time, his infatuation grew, festering into something far darker than he could control. Ose had just graduated from secondary school the previous year. He was always fond of girls in his senior secondary school days. He was always with one girl or the other, almost every day after school. This aspect of Ose was not known by his grandma Temisan. One day, Ose thought to himself, only God knows how my grandma became a grandma at young age. Checking the age differences between his mother, Ese, and his grandma, Temisan. Looking at his grandma from behind, he allowed his mind to process a dirty thought. One day, I would find out if going in between the legs of those young girls feels the same as grandma's own, since she's beautiful too, he thought to himself. Temisan, oblivious to Ose's growing obsession, had no reason to suspect anything. She continued to treat him as her grandson, proud of the boy she had raised when Ese chose to return to school. That night, Temisa had been particularly tired. She had spent the day at the markets buying food for the week. When she returned home, Ose had offered to make her a drink. He had insisted on her taking the drink, flashing her a rare smile that she couldn't refuse. The drink tasted a bit off, but she thought nothing of it. Temisan thanked Ose, her grandson, and retired to her bedroom. Not long after, the world began to spin, her limbs growing heavy and her eyelids drooping until she succumbed to the darkness. When Temisan awoke, her body felt strange, too heavy, too sore. A dull ache pulsed between her legs, and as she slowly sat up, a wave of nausea washed over her. Something was wrong. Panic began to creep in as she tried to recall the events of the night before, but her memory was hazy. A sense of violation gnawed at her, but she refused to acknowledge it, afraid of the truth. Hours passed before she dared to rise from her bed. The house was quiet. Ose was gone. At first, she thought perhaps he had gone out, but by evening, when he still hadn't returned, her heart sank. She sent for a young lady who helped her ask around the village for the whereabouts of Ose, but no one had seen him. The boy had simply vanished. The days turned to weeks. The shame she had pushed down threatened to consume her. She couldn't confide in anyone, not even Essie, her daughter, who was not around. How could she explain what she barely understood herself? A wave of sickness overcame her one morning, And that's when Temisan began to suspect the unthinkable. She delayed going to the local clinic, telling herself it was impossible, but her body betrayed her. When the doctor delivered the news, she felt the earth shift beneath her feet. Pregnant at 47 with her grandson's child. The town's whispers grew louder as her belly swelled. Everyone noticed, and everyone had their theories. Some thought she had found a secret lover. Others believed it was a curse or punishment for past sins. But no one dared ask her directly. Shame clung to Temisan like a second skin, and she withdrew further into herself. Essie, her daughter, was torn between confusion and anger, unable to understand how her mother had allowed such a thing to happen. But Temisa remained silent, willing to bother her daughter with the terrible truth. It wasn't long before the ruler of the town, a stern man who prided himself on maintaining order, summoned Temisa. Essay. His voice was like thunder as he pronounced their fates. They were to be banned from the community. Abomination, he called it. You, pregnant? What a shame! A violation of sacred laws that governed their land. The scandal had finally reached its boiling point, and the punishment was swift and merciless. Temisan bowed her head as the judgment was passed. She could see no future for herself, for the child growing inside her, or for her daughter. They were outcasts now, to live on the fringes of society. People whispered that the grandson Ose was never to return, and perhaps it was better that way. His crime was too great to forgive, Temisan said, and his absence was the only mercy left Temisan and her daughter. Months passed, and Temisan gave birth in solitude. It was a small, quiet affair. The baby, a boy, was healthy, but Temisan could not bring herself to look at him. His existence was a reminder of the horror she had endured, of the betrayal she could never fully comprehend. Essie, despite her own struggles with the situation, on the role of a caretaker. She had lost a mother and a son, but she would not let the child suffer for the sins of his father. As time went on, the town slowly moved on from the scandal, though the stain on Temisan's family remained. The baby boy grew up, knowing only the cold distance of the town's people, never truly understanding why they avoided him, why they looked at him with such disdain. But for Temisan, there was no escape from the shame. Every day she awoke, she was reminded of the night that had forever changed her life. The night her own blood had betrayed her, and she had borne the weight of that sin. She decided to end it all. She slept and never woke up again. In the end, Temisan's story became a cautionary tale, whispered among the townspeople whenever a young girl showed signs of trouble. Remember Temisan, they would say, and the curse that befell our family. And so the cycle of shame and silence continued, bound by blood and shamed by fate. The morals I picked from the story. Cycles of pain can persist across generations. Temisan's life reflects how unresolved trauma, secrets, and cycles of shame can pass from one generation to the next without addressing past ones. Families may continue to repeat mistakes. 2. The dangers of silence and suppression. Temisan's decision to stay silent about her suffering and Ose's inability to seek help for his confused feelings both contributed to the tragic outcomes. This highlights the importance of confronting difficult truths and seeking help before things spiral out of control. When young people, especially adolescents, become unnecessarily quiet, their guardians, their parents, should engage them in conversations that would help them open up and find help. 3. The consequences of abandoning family. The story reminds us of the consequences of rejecting family members, as Temisan was abandoned by her parents, which led to a chain of events that caused more harm. Her parents actually forgot that a deed was done, and when the deed is done, there's a common saying, you don't throw the baby away with the bath water. Compassion and understanding are essential for healing. Though the story is filled with tragedy, it implies that compassion and empathy could have changed the course of events, whether from the townspeople, Temisan's family, or even from Ose if he had someone to confide in. These morals emphasize the importance of open communication between children and parents, breaking harmful cycles and the damage caused by societal judgment and silence. No matter the situation, when teenage pregnancy occurs, the family should try to help the girl get her focus back, no matter how devastated they may feel about the situation. The girl should be helped to get her life back instead of being thrown into the cold out there. If Temisan had found help when she was pregnant at 15 and was cautioned but was helped to get her life back, the tragedy that befell her wouldn't have happened. The second chance could or would have made her life better. Parents should build open communication between themselves and their children. Allow children to be able to express themselves, their feelings, and even when the feelings are hurt, so that they can be properly guided. Parents should also educate their children from young age on what infatuation is and the danger of nursing it. Children should be encouraged to seek counsel whenever their infatuation is becoming loud in their mind. Also, children should learn the dangers of teenage pregnancies early enough, the consequences that may follow. Thank you for watching my story. Are welcomed in the comment section below. Please share with me what you love about the story and what you learned from the story. This is African Tales by Ewa. Please, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, kindly do so and share this story with your loved ones. Like my story. I appreciate your time spent on my channel. I do not take your support for granted. Until I come your way again with another interesting story. Bye for now.